What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. A big thank you for coming back and joining me on another episode of the Arsenal beta series. So obviously Football Manager has now been released fully. By the time you are watching this, Football Manager, the full game, will be released. Don't fear, the beta save isn't going anywhere. The Arsenal save is just going to convert into the first regular save of FM23. I was running a bit behind, so I just thought we would continue the beta save. I want to get to the end. I want to see where this is going to go. Obviously, the new game is out, so if you haven't bought it already, go off and do that and start your own experiences. But there will be lots more FM23 content coming up on the channel. If you haven't seen any of the Wonder Kid videos yet, go and check them out too. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any more in this series and you don't miss any more FM23 content. Right then, with that all said and done out of the way, in the last episode we had got to the end of season 1. We had had a pretty decent first season and a first go at getting Arsenal some silverware. Unfortunately, finished third in the Premier League. We also finished runner-up in quite a few competitions, which is a little bit heartbreaking. We were so near yet so far, but today is a brand new season. We have pushed forwards. It's the 2nd of September 2023, and that means we have some new faces to introduce to you. So let's jump in and show you the first signings from the summer transfer window. So 3 new signings to kick us off in the transfer window. The first of which we are going to introduce is Morten Hjulmand. You can see he's a 24-year-old Danish midfielder who has come in basically as a bit of cover in the middle of the park. You can see, looking at his little map, he can play in a number of positions, mainly though as a defensive midfielder and a central midfielder, and it's a key area of the squad when we play with that 3-man midfield. We noticed at the end of last season, the likes of Odegaard, Elneny, Thomas Partey, when they were playing a lot of games, they were basically running out of steam pretty quickly, and it was apparent that the squad wasn't big enough. So we wanted to go out and basically look at a few backup options. So when we need a Carabao Cup rotation option, or an FA Cup game, or even a Champions League game, or maybe even against the promoted teams from the Championship, we can just plug him in and hopefully he'll be able to carry his own. Now, looking at him, as I said, he's 24 years old. How much money did we pay for him? That's the question. So we paid £3.6 million for him. Not the biggest outlay, but when we look at him, you can see that the main reasons that we signed him were for the qualities in the middle of the park. So he has 14 passing, 14 first touch, positioning is good with 16, work rate of 14, vision of 15. In terms of the physicals, pace of 13, acceleration of 13. He has good balance, he has good stamina, good strength. I think he's a solid player who can come in and do a job. I think he will be able to, yeah, as I said, just be a rotation option. He's not demanding first team football. He's coming as a fringe player. He knows he isn't going to be playing week in, week out. But I do think Morten Hjulmand can have an impact on this team when he is required. The second of the 3 signings is Jared Branthwaite. He's a young English player, 21 years old, comes from Everton. We paid £7.25 million for him. When you look at his career journey, you can see he's been an Everton player for a while, 2019 to 2022. He did go out to PSV Eindhoven, and then we have snapped him up for that £7.25 million. So he's one player who popped up on a scout report. I didn't really think too much of him when I had a look at him, but the scouts really think he's an exciting young prospect who isn't far away from the first team. So we had another look, kind of for the money that we had. The fact he's in under 21, he's also English, so homegrown, helps with the Champions League quota, those kinds of things. It quickly become obvious that in terms of being a defensive option, he's a really, really good one to pick up on the cheap. He can play all across the back, so he can play as our left back, can play in the centre role as well. Can move further up the pitch, but we think he's just going to be playing as a centre back. Looking at him, he's, as I said, 21 years old, 196 centimetres tall. His stats are okay for a defender who can still develop into what kind of player he can become. Looking at his technicals, he has good heading, good marking, good tackling. When you look at the mentals, good aggression, anticipation, bravery. In terms of the positioning, teamwork, vision and work rate. When you look at the physicals, good strength, which you need for a defender, good jumping reach too. He's a player who's not going to get pushed off the ball too easily. I think as a £7.25 million option, he's a sensible backup option at centre-back. The third of the three players we just showed you is Brian Ocko. He is a player who was a wonder kid in FM22. He comes to the club as quite a cheap option. I did think he might have gone up in value across games, but £6.5 million was all it took to snap him up. Now, obviously, he's one for the future. It states at the bottom there in the purple bar, he's an exciting young prospect for the future. I've got a feeling that he can kind of work his way into this first team pretty quickly. Looking at his career path, Salzburg and Liefering, and then coming to us. Again, a young player, 20 years old, 188 centimetres tall, comes in as a youngster, so not even demanding first team football from the get-go. Plays as a left footer. The only problem with him is he is strictly a central defender. He can play as a no-nonsense and can play as a ball-playing defender, but in terms of other positions, it's a complete no-no. He is an absolute through-the-middle centre-back, and when you look at his stats, you can see the physicals, good acceleration, good jumping reach, good fitness, good pace. The mentals, he has good anticipation, good bravery, composure, he has good determination, positioning, teamwork, work rate, and then in terms of the technicals, good tackling, good marking, good heading. So he's a bit of a raw talent that's going to need a little bit of adapting into the first team, but we're going to throw him straight on in and see if he can get into the first team, and if he gets a chance and takes it, I've got a feeling he can be a very, very good centre-back for the future. Moving on then to the two marquee signings for this transfer window. The first of which is Paulo Dybala, and what an absolute baller Paulo Dybala looks in game. Now, he's still only 29, so he isn't moving into the latter stage of his career just yet. There is only one thing I'm a little bit confused about. If we have a little look here at the history for the player, we managed to pick him up for £17.25 million. Now, I'm not too sure what's happened there, why he has only been at Roma for a season. They've decided to cash in. Sometimes, if you remember in FM22, there were these players that constantly would creep up on the transfer market, and you'd go and think, oh yeah, we'll go and buy them, they'll do great for the club, and then you get lumbered with a player who was put on the transfer list for a reason. Players like Julian Brandt spring to mind. Yeah, I'm just hoping that this isn't going to be one of those players, because he looks fantastic. So we brought him in. He is going to be competing for that wide left, the inside forward position. He's also going to be playing as a striker, rotating in with Gabriel Jesus. Looking at him, I mean, if we break him down, I think he does suffer with injuries a little bit, and maybe that's the reason why Roma might have moved him on as quickly as they have. But pace of 12 isn't the best. Acceleration of 14 is okay. Agility and balance are good. When you look at his mentals, he has good anticipation, good flair, good vision. The work rate could have done with it being a little bit higher, but then he's an attacking player. He doesn't really need to come back and put his foot in. And then when you look at the technicals, this is where he really excels. Corners, dribbling, first touch, free kick taking, long shots, passing, penalty taking, and technique are all fantastic. It's Paulo Dybala. This one really doesn't have too many strings attached. I think even if it doesn't work out and he does become that Julian Brandt player of FM23, I just have a feeling this one's going to work out. I really think we've got a bargain. 17.25 million. Welcome, Paulo Dybala. The second of our marquee signings is the one that I really wanted to get my hands on. It's Jude Bellingham. We went out, we paid Dortmund the £88 million release clause they were looking for, and we have bought Jude Bellingham to Arsenal. Now, obviously, Jude doesn't really need an introduction. He's a player who is a absolute fantastic prospect in real life. In the game, he has just turned 20. He's now valued at 102 to 120 million pounds. He isn't a player that really needs an introduction, but we will try and give him one anyway. As I said, 20 years old, 186 centimetres. He's going to stand head and shoulders above people in the middle of the pitch. Looking at his player map, you can see he plays as a central midfielder or a defensive midfielder. We can also try him as a wide player too if we really were desperate. I don't think that would be the case. I think we'll have enough players to just stick him in the middle and play him in a position that he wants to play. So we've either got ball-winning midfielder when he plays deep, or his best role is a ball-winning midfielder when he plays through the middle. He also plays as a Mazzala, which is good for us because that is one of the positions that we use in the middle of our tactic. Looking at him then as a player, don't really need to break this down, do we? You just know that everything he touches turns to gold, whether it be in the Bundesliga, playing for England, and now hopefully playing for us in the Premier League. Stamina of 16, natural fitness of 16, pace of 15, acceleration of 15. Just look through the middle of the mentals. You've got work rate, you've got flair, determination, bravery, aggression. In the technicals, dribbling, first touch, technique, it's all there. Jude Bellingham is an absolute world star, and I'm so glad I was able to hit that £88 million release clause. What can he do for Arsenal? That is the question. Can he really be that person that just is the linchpin of the save? I really believe that he absolutely can be. So that is all the signings wrapped up. Those are all the players we bought in. Only did the 5 pieces of business, and I think really the squad was in a position where we didn't need to go over the top. There are of course a few players who have gone out, so if we go back to the transfers and just show you the players that have left the club. Also, I mean, if we go back to the beginning of the first bit, so there was no players going at the end of June, and then it was all players that were leaving either on free transfers or it was to recoup a bit of money. So you got Salah Oulad Mahand, it's gone to Bologna. Joel Adeo went to Genoa. You got Ryan Alabiosu, went to Wigan. James Hilson went to Stockport. Alex Kirk to Luton. Elian Casada Thorne went to Oxford. We then sold Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Came back to the club. I think he was on loan in the first season, was he, at Southampton? Yes, he was. And then we brought him back to the club. He didn't really want to stay. We wanted a bit of cash for him. 16 million to Hoffenheim was a good deal. The next player to go out was Thomas Partey. He's gone to Almeria, so back to Spain where he came from. He was a player that just did okay for us. I think for his age of 30, we got a decent enough amount of money, £12.5 million for him. That was fine. We had Billy Vigor go to Portsmouth. Catalin Serjan also went to Portsmouth. We had Rob Holding went to Fenerbahce for £6 million. Mohamed Al-Neni went out for 8.75 to Fiorentina. Nicolas Pepe came back off of his loan and then went straight to Spartak Moscow. We have Mauro Bandera going to Rotherham on loan. Charles Sago went to Sheffield United. Matt Turner to Lazio. We had James Sweet go to Notts Forest for 350,000. There's more. We had runner Alex Runnerson go to Toulouse for 1.1 million. Pablo Mari left the club to go to Shakhtar Donetsk for 7.25 million. Nuno Tavares was another one. I think he came back from a loan deal. Where was he? He was on loan at Marseille. Came back. Kind of asked to leave the club. Wanted to go out and try and get some more first team football. Put him on the transfer list, and Shakhtar came in for him £18.25 million. We had Miguel Aziz go to Aston Villa for £5 million. Brooke Norton-Cuffy went to Brentford for 11.25, rising to 14.25. And finally, Paulinho, who we signed in the first transfer window that we were available to sign players. He has gone out to Sochi. They have come in and paid, how much did they pay? They paid £2.3 million, so we've took a bit of a hit on Paulinho, but obviously with Jude Bellingham coming in. In fact, no, we didn't. We only bought him for 1.1 million, so we actually made a profit on him. But with Jude Bellingham coming in, didn't really need him. So that's all of the transfer business concluded. The last couple of things to show you is the finances and club vision. And then we have also kicked off the Premier League season, so we'll show you how the league has started. Have a quick run through the squad, and then we will start prepping for the next episode. After all of our transfer business then, it means the finances are looking like this. So we have a healthy £91.4 million in the bank. We have a transfer budget left over of £9.6 million. So going forwards to the winter transfer window, we have a little bit of money left in the bank. In terms of the wage budget, it's pretty close now. There's about I don't know, what's that, £60,000 difference, 70,000. Current spending of 2.947 and the wage budget is 3.015. So a decent enough amount in the wage budget to keep us healthy there. So finances are all looking good. The next thing to look at is the club vision. How are we getting on there? So you can see in terms of the board, we've got a B-. To summarise, the board are pleased with your management of the team. Last season's successes remain fresh in our memories, and our appraisal of your current team performance takes that into account. So they are happy. In fact, board culture now, do not sign players over the age of 30. So that is something that I really wouldn't do anyway, but it's obviously now a board culture. Notable highlights: delighted with the positive atmosphere in the changing room, delighted with the financial aspect of the Jude Bellingham deal. Very pleased with the 1-0 English Premier Division triumph against Leicester. They were disappointed with the finances to sell Pepe, disappointed with the finances to sell Pablo Mari, and disappointed with the finances in the deal to loan out Armar Rakek. So, it's a meh feedback, isn't it? Pretty meh. Looking at the supporters' feedback, so we have got a C+. Overall, the supporters are pleased with the job you are doing. Play attacking football, disappointed. I'm not too sure whether we qualify as playing attacking football. Like, maybe they have a justified reason for saying they're disappointed, but I think we won enough games in the previous season to perhaps be satisfied with that. Not 100% sure, but the board didn't bring it up. Yeah, the supporters obviously are influential in Football Manager 23. They're disappointed. It's something we're probably going to have to look at. Play entertaining football, they are pleased with that. So at least if we're not playing attacking football, we're playing entertaining football, and that's good enough. Supporter expectations: finish above Tottenham, finish above Man United, finish above Chelsea, qualify for the Europa League. So all achievable for those things. Fingers crossed. Looking at the board's actionable objectives then. Increase commercial revenue. Not too sure what I can do to influence that. Obviously, getting in the Champions League, getting higher in the Premier League, those kinds of things will all help. Work within the wage budget. We're on course. Sign players to sell for a profit. They're satisfied. Grow the club's reputation. Pleased. So, in terms of the 5-year plan, reach at least the knockout stages of the Champions League, qualify for the Europa League, reach the last stage of the FA Cup, and be competitive in the Carabao Cup. So, they want us to go for it on a domestic front, and they also want to be successful in the Champions League. So, that's pretty much everything covered in terms of the finances and the club vision. The last thing to show you really is how the squad is going to fit together. But first, I know I said lastly, but first, we kicked the Premier League season off, didn't we? So I'd forgotten all about that. Let's show you how we're getting on in the Premier League season at the start of Season 2. Here we go then, jumped into the schedule just to show you how we have kicked off the Premier League season. So once again, pre-season we flew through that. Slavia Prague 1-1, Besiktas we won 6-1, Porto 3-1 and PSV 2-0. So an unbeaten pre-season led us into the Premier League, where we played against Leicester in the first game of the season at home, and Emil Smith-Rowe scoring after 76 minutes meant that we picked up all 3 points at the start of a brand new season. We then played newly promoted QPR, and Saliba, Odegaard and Dybala getting his first goal for the club gave us a 3-1 victory at Loftus Road. That meant that we obviously start the season with 6 points from 6, and that leaves us at second currently in the table. So interesting to see that there are quite a few teams that have won the first 2 games. They're Man City, West Ham, Leeds, ourselves and Liverpool. So fingers crossed that is the pattern we are going to follow going forwards in the Premier League. We want to run those top 2 teams a lot closer than we did last season. Champions League group has been drawn. We have been drawn with Juventus, Sporting and Ludogorets. So a difficult draw there really with Sporting and Juventus. Hopefully we will beat Ludogorets home and away, and then we just need to pick up points in the other two games. Carabao Cup, we've been drawn against Tottenham, so we have a nice North London derby in the third round of the Carabao Cup. Probably won't stop me from rotating, but fingers crossed the players that we put out will be strong enough to beat Tottenham. So that's the competitions. That's us at the start of the season. Last thing to look at then is our squad planner, and see where the new signings fit in, and show you what our best 11 should be come match day. The last thing then to do before we wrap this one up is to go into the squad planner. As you can see, we have brought up our best 11. This is the opinion of Billy McKinley. He is the assistant manager at the club. So looking at it then, he thinks that it's Ramsdale in goal. He then thinks Rokas, can never remember this name, Rokas Fedorchenko. Rokas Fedorchenko is our best youth goalkeeper. In terms of the left back, it's Zinchenko and Lino Sousa. Then it's Gabriel, Saliba and White, with Kakuri, Juma and Orr in terms of the purple players. Looking then into the middle of the park, you've got Sambi Lokonga and Bellingham, with Henry Francis and Ibongu as those two purple players. Then got Mazzala of Odegaard. Obviously, Patino is the best Mazzala in terms of the youth players. And then you've got Bukayo Saka with Smith Rowe, Martinelli with Reece Nelson. And then Gabriel Jesus is our best striker, with Ollie Carter mixed in there as the purple player. And Ollie Carter is a regen, or new gen, whatever you want to call them, who has broke through at the first youth intake that we have had. He's pushed his way already into the under-21s, having scored a few goals early on in his under-18s career. And our backroom staff really are looking forward to seeing this player. They really think that he has something. Fingers crossed he can be one of those players that's in the first team by the age of 18 and banging goals in left, right and centre. That would be fantastic. There are a few players missing off of here. Obviously, Jude Bellingham walked straight into the lineup, but Dybala can't get in, Szoboszlai can't get in. So there's a few players there that I probably would have picked in the lineup. But again, that wasn't my opinion. It was the opinion of Billy McKinley. So looking at it from a different perspective then, that is exactly what the starting 11 looks like in the formation that we would play. A few of the strengths and weaknesses there. If you want to pause them and have a little look, we won't really break those down. But in terms of the squad then, it means it looks like this going into season 2. As you know, we've already kicked it off and we're 6 points from 6. But we've got Jacob Hein and Ramsdale as goalkeepers. We've got Gabriel, White, Hote, Saliba, Trusty, Oko and Branthwaite as our centre-backs. We've got Tomiyasu, Tierney, Zinchenko, Araujo as our wing-backs. Then we've got Lokonga, Hjulmand, Bellingham, Odegaard, Xhaka and Dorr as our central midfielders. We have Marquinhos to cover on the right-hand side for Saka when he needs replacing. We have Szoboszlai, Nelson, Smith Rowe, Saka, Cade Cowell. Fabio Vieira is still at the club. Might not be for too much longer. There was grumbling in the summer that he wanted to play more games. Can't really fit him into the team if I'm honest, but you never know. It's a new season. We've got Caden Clark, Paulo Dybala, Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli and Marcelo Flores. So the team is now looking pretty strong. We have enough rotation and squad depth to rotate players when we need them. Fingers crossed this is going to be the season that we run those top two a little bit closer. So then, going to start to wrap this one up. In the next episode, we are going to push forwards to around the 1st or 2nd of January. We're going to go a slightly different path for this one. In the next episode, we will show you how the Premier League season is progressing. Also have the Champions League and the Carabao Cup. We'll break it down in terms of how we are playing football. And then this episode after that will be the winter transfer window, where we again start to look at signing new players and maybe move 1 or 2 players on. If the system isn't working, we can perhaps look to tweak it at that point. But that is going to be the plan for the next couple of episodes. Right then, if you're still here, still listening to me, firstly, a big thank you. Secondly, if you don't mind hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and even throw a comment in the box down below. Any little interaction with the channel really does help to boost the channel. I really appreciate everybody who takes their time to come here and help the channel out. Before I go, don't forget to hit up the channel for other videos. If you see the little bar that comes up, we have tactics, we have Wonder Kids, we have Let's Plays, tutorials. There really is something for everybody on the channel. If you find something you like, don't forget to hit the thumbs up on that video too. But for this one, I'm going to wrap it there. Don't forget to come back and join me for the next episode of the Arsenal Beta series.